debt is a legal form of slavery. What advice do you have for the people who want to look rich rather than be rich?
We're either drawing interest or we're paying interest. I determined that you can make a living with your mind a lot easier than you make a living with your hands.
I talk to a lot of hopeless women, hopeless people in general, that they've just lost their compass.
Things in life come down to one simple sentence, one question: how bad do you want it? He'll call it a burning desire to make a change.
If the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer, I'm always saying, why can't we just go over to be on the richer side? Because that's just a decision.
You can't wait until you know all the answers. Without faith, applied faith, it's kind of like going out on a porch and sitting in your rocking chair. It may feel real good, but it's not going to take you nowhere. And the faith part's got to be developed first.
Successful people have been known to make decisions quickly and rarely change their mind. Unsuccessful people take a long time to make decisions, and then they change their minds often.
There are 7 days in a week, and some days not one of them.
Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Christy Rutherford, and today we have the amazing and phenomenal Mr. Don Green. Mr. Don Green is a resident of Wise, Virginia, the birthplace of Napoleon Hill. Mr. Green brings nearly 45 years of banking, finance, and entrepreneurship experience to his role as the executive director of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. His first youthful business venture was charging admission. Since 2000, he's traveled worldwide to use his finance skills to grow the foundation's funds in order to continue the foundation's educational outreach to prisons. He has both modeled leadership skills as a CEO and taught them throughout the PMA Science of Success course at the University of Virginia's College at Wise. He specializes in discussing his personal experiences in leadership and providing audiences with proven methods of applying Dr. Hill's success philosophy to business. He was recently featured in a presentation on the importance of entrepreneurship in a national economy by Dr. Peter Young at the United States Forum. I checked your LinkedIn profile. You were president of Black Diamond Bank, CEO, and also the vice president of First State Bank. Welcome, Mr. Green.
Oh, thank you, Christy. This is going to be fun. I've followed you for quite a while, and I was married 54 years before my wife passed away, and I had one daughter. That was the family. So I learned the girl issue real quick. I mean, if you don't learn the girl issue, then you got problems. You got bad problems. And really, I'm a history buff. And you can look at the economies over the world, and where the women play a significant part, they have much better economy. You can't rule out say, oh, you're not going to do nothing but have babies. You can't contribute nothing. It's almost like you don't have a mind. I could tell it a little bit farther. It said, I heard one time said, you give a girl a smile, she'll give you her heart. And you give her a house, she'll give you a home. You give her a sperm and she'll make a baby. And so, but you give her crap, you're going to get a ton of, you know what? That's enough of that. But we're going to talk about faith first, aren't we? We're going to talk about faith.
I definitely want to talk about faith. I talked to you in 2000, I think, when everybody was going crazy. And what's interesting is, I talked about then, I mean, the world is going to do what it's going to do. And so there are tons of reasons why people can be distracted. But if the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer, I'm always saying, why can't we just go over to be on the richer side? Because that's just a decision. And so we talked about the art of the comeback in 2000 and now in 2020. And now in 2024, I'm looking at a lot of people who didn't choose to change, right? A lot of people who were waiting for the world to go back to normal, or waiting for something to change, and they didn't change. And so now we're here to talk about walking out your faith because they're stuck in a thicker mud. And I talk to a lot of hopeless women, hopeless people in general, that they've just lost their compass. And I just wanted you to share some insight with them today on the principles of success, these long-standing principles that have been around for hundreds of years, definitely in Think and Grow Rich and my favorite book of all time, Outwitting the Devil. But just wanted you to share some insight on that. So what is applied faith? Because a lot of times, Mr. Green, people know they quote the scripture, but they're not necessarily doing it. So what is applied faith?
Well, it's not just faith, like you said, it's applied faith. You probably heard a little tale Suppose it happened up in Niagara Falls. The guys are walking the wire, and he's walking blindfolded and whatever, and he's getting braver and braver. And he said, anybody out there think I can put a person in this wheelbarrow blindfolded and walk across Niagara Falls on this wire? And the little boy hollered out there, I do. And he says, come on up here and get in the wheelbarrow, Sonny. He said, they've not caught that kid yet. There's a whole lot of difference in saying and applied. That's the difference in faith and applied faith. And faith is absolutely necessary if you're going to fulfill your needs. People faith know that if they seek faith, what they're seeking will come to them. I say faith is, without faith, applied faith, it's kind of like going out on a porch and sitting in your rocking chair. It may feel real good, but it's not going to take you nowhere. It's just on and on. And the faith part's got to be developed first. And I'll follow Hill's teaching. Some other people may have some other ways, but Napoleon Hill stated that the only way to induce faith was through autosuggestion. And Christy can go into the bathroom and say, gosh, I'm not dressed up proper. And we tend to believe what we say, especially if we repeat it. Now, someone else can say something to us and say, well, Christy, you're not dressed good. And then you can tell yourself, look at her. She must have come out of the garbage dump. But when we start telling ourselves, we tend to believe, especially what we repeat. Our conscious mind feeds our subconscious mind. And the more often we do it, Christy, I'm sure you remember when you did your ABCs. You're probably smarter than I was, but I didn't get them all the first time. I finally got them down by repeating them over and over again. Same way with our multiplication tables. I didn't get them all the first time, but now if someone walks up and says, what's 8 times 8? 64. It's embedded in your subconscious. You repeat it so many times. So that's the reason it's important. One place I read in one of Hill's talks, he listed a list a mile long of things that people say that they shouldn't say, like, we never have no money. Christy's not going to coach me. I can't learn from her. And we tend to believe what we say, especially if we keep repeating them. So it's extremely important that what we feed under our subconscious mind. Hill said it. He said it real easy. He says, keep your mind on what you want. Keep it off what you do not want. And while our mind is simple in some phases, it's complicated in others. It can't hold opposing thoughts at the same time. You can't have love for one person and envy or jealousy of another. You can bounce back and forth. But the mind, and that's what we dwell on the most. The introduction into Think and Grow Rich was, it said, truly, thoughts are things. And thoughts that's fed into our subconscious mind, they have a tendency to produce their physical equivalent, especially if we keep repeating them and we follow the instructions and we do so. Now, if Christy and I'm going to pick her up in South Carolina and we're going to go to Florida. We know that we're in South Carolina. We know we're going to Miami, Florida. That's the only two things we need to know. We don't need to know every stop, when we're going to get gas, when we're going to eat. Those things are filled in as we go along. Most people don't start until they've got all the answers, and you'll never have all the answers. The starting thing is the most important thing of all, is starting. You have to start. You can't wait until you know all the answers, because you can find someone. I mean, we're going to stop, get gas, or find out where we got to charge the car or what have you, and them things as we go along. But we're not going to know all the answers when we leave South Carolina. We're not going to know every turn, every red light, every highway number, but we can do those as we go along. But we got to start. I have a little thing I'll probably set you one someday. I've got a card. I'll give away thousands of them, I guess. It simply says, there are 7 days in a week, and some days not one of them. And when I say, well, someday I'm going to visit the old folks, or someday I'm going to pay my credit card off, or someday I'm going to sign up for Christy's coaching. We ain't doing nothing but lying to ourselves, because there is no someday. You got to say, I'm going to do this Monday morning. You're going to commit it. I gave a talk when I was president of the Chamber of Commerce, and this lady, she's a teacher, and teachers, they know everything. And she come up to me and she says at the break, and she says, I'd make goals out the first year. I just don't write them down. I said, yeah, that's what we call dreams. If you don't think enough of it to put it down in writing, when I sit there and write this, I'm going to do an interview with Christy Rutherford. I put it down in writing, and that becomes a contract with myself. I'm telling this is what I'm going to do. Then I'll figure out the way. But we have to put it in writing. If we don't think enough of it to write it down, heck, we make out a store list. I mean, don't you think? I think it's awful odd that people start go on vacation. Maybe they went to Miami or whatever, and then no more than get back home, and they start, where do you think we want to go next year? Well, I like the beach, didn't you? Why don't we go to the mountains one time? They'll discuss it. Why don't they sit down and plan their life? They plan their vacations, they plan their store lists, but they don't plan their lives. It amazes me that people can't commit, but the people that commit are the 2% that get ahead, and it's well worth the time it takes. I equate faith is to us accomplishment. It's like putting gas in a car. It's the energy that makes us go.
Oh, we have if y'all have any questions, y'all can type them in the chat and let me know. I want to talk about, you said something that was so good. A couple of things where you talked about affirmations. Pretty much is faith comes from hearing and hearing and hearing. So then I got my affirmation cards right here, but then I also got the one that I had to go get it off the wall. That's why I just, if it is to be, it's up to me. So you sent me like hundreds of these. My clients haven't gotten them yet, but I won't tell them. So let's talk about hypnotic rhythm, right? And one of the things I've said a lot in the past couple of weeks, or actually, I don't know, probably the past couple of years, is Napoleon Hill said, procrastination, indecision are the leading causes of failure. And so in Outwitting the Devil, he talked about hypnotic rhythm and basically, the people conforming and just doing the same things and not necessarily thinking on their own free will. And so you can't conquer a man or a woman who's learned how to think on their own free will. So what are your thoughts on hypnotic rhythm and especially what's going on today in 2024?
Well, going back to I love Einstein also. He's a pretty smart guy, but he said, and other people have said something similar. He said, keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect different results. That's perfect. It's definition of insanity. I can remember when I was banking, this young lady, she was asking for advice, and basically she's looking for a mate, not me, but she's looking for advice. And I talked to her a few minutes, and what she's done on the weekend was visiting the bars. Okay, I'm saying, I said, you think you're going to go to the local bar and sit there and get 2/3 drunk, and some guy's going to come up on a white horse and ride off with you, and he's going to take care of you? I said, face the facts is, he's wanting you for maybe a night or a weekend or something or another, because that's a hookup place. I said, you're going to have to get some connections with some friends, some people that's in your interest, to meet other people and maybe change your scenery a little bit. And to if you come in my office, you'll see on the wall my social media girl put up. It said, there are 2 ways to learn. One's from books, and the other's to be around smarter people. And if you don't read, you're already behind. And if you're running around with the wrong crowd, Chris, you probably don't know it, but we do a lot of prison work. We send out we've done course material away. We don't make no money off of it. That's just one of our things. And the recidivism rate is pitiful. In other words, people go into prison and they're out a while and they go back again. What do they do when they release? Most all of them go back to the same neighborhood that they got in trouble with this first time. Napoleon in 1919, in his first magazines, Napoleon Hill's Golden Rule, I published them into a booklet. And he said two things influence us, makes us what we are. It's our physical and our social environment. You know, our skin tone, our hair color, and so forth is pretty well dictated by our parents. But the other thing is our social environment. And if a social environment is not good, we can change that. I read in a book one time, this guy was visiting his neighbor, an old farmer. He's living in, which a lot of the houses when I was growing up was like this. They were wood houses, not even painted. And they were sitting out on the porch in a church. And I guess they were talking about women, politics, or whatever. But the man that lived in the little house, he had a big old dog, and the dog was laying on the porch, and the dog was moaning, going, making noise. He said, "What's wrong with your dog?" He said, "He's laying on a board, and it's got a nail sticking up through." He said, "Well, why don't the dang dog move?" He said, "Well, it's not hurting him that bad." So that's the way of people in life. I don't care what your relationships or what have you. Yeah, the only people that accept change without some effort is a baby with a bad diaper, and it cries the whole time it's getting a change. People just don't have the call it guts or the strength or the desire. He'll call it a burning desire to make a change, and we can see things if we really want them. I did a fundraising with Zig Ziglar, 2003. I can remember the date because someone took our picture and he signed it, sent it to me. He said, "Don, God loves you, and I do too." But he said that things in life come down to one simple sentence, one question: how bad do you want it? You know, I mean, you can lay there in bed and get up and start smoking dope, whatever, or you can get out and make contacts and whatever. I bought a magazine off a guy one time, was really scarce, and he called me and he said, told me he had the magazine. I said, "Well, yeah, it'd be neat." I said, "How much you want?" "Well, I don't know." And I said, "Well, when you decide, 2 or 3 months went by, and he called me, told me what he wanted for it. I said, "Okay, I'll send you a check." "Oh, wait a minute," he said, "it'll have to be a cashier's check. I'll have to wait till the check clears." Now here I am sitting, I mean, that it never happened to me. But anyway, I sent him a cashier's check. It was exactly what he said. And when I got it, he had told me in his conversations that he was able to get a job. He's just and I could. He sent me to, he wouldn't trust people. He didn't trust me. I mean, he could have found out I was a bank president, and I had a little money, more than a little. But anyway, I did exactly what he said. But then, after I got to make it, it was exactly like he said. I thought, I might help that man. I called him and I asked him if he ever got a job. No. And he said the reason I sold it for that amount, he said that was a house payment. I'm about to lose my house. And I said, "Well, I don't want to be hard on you, but I'm going to try to help you." I said, "I done got the magazines like what you said, but you didn't trust me." I said, "If you knew how much money I had," I said, "I trusted you. You could have not even sent me the magazine. You could have cashed my $700 check. I wouldn't have come after you. My time's worth more than that. I sure not going to drive that many miles up north. I'm not going to hire no attorney. I would just figure it's a lesson learned. But you didn't trust me." Did you ever think it maybe when you go into the employer that you don't trust him? You go in and talk to him that you need a job. They say, "All I'm asking is an opportunity. You give me an opportunity, and I assure you, you'll be glad you give me an opportunity." And that's all I'm asking for is an opportunity. You let me work a few weeks. This is what I can do. And if you're not satisfied, that's all I'm asking is an opportunity. I got through talking. He said, "Mr. Green," he said, "you're absolutely right." He said, "I'm bitter because I was laid off after a number of years." And he said, I'm angry. And I said, "Well, that's a heck of a state of mind to be angry when you're going out looking for a job, because he's got all kinds of people out there to pick from." And he actually thanked me for it. And I thought, well, maybe I did a little bit of good. I wasn't trying to give him a hard time, but he just comes across as he didn't trust me. So I've only had that incident involving money twice I can recall in my life, and I won't tell you the other story because it was kind of local and it was a whole lot of money. But anyway, that's just we sent a signal out like that, where we
Mhm.
think it or not, nobody owes you a job, you know. Uh, and if they're good enough to give you an opportunity and take a chance on you,
Mhm.
then you can use the principles of initiative and going the extra mile and so forth to get ahead in life and following the principles that we should.
Let's talk about that, because I talk to a lot of women who are angry, or they don't want to admit that they're angry, or they're resentful, and then they're complaining that the barriers are being put in front of them of the success. And so one of the 12 things that in Napoleon Hill talks about, the 12 things that constitutes real riches, money is number 12, a pleasing personality is number 1, right? So I want to anchor that. And then also he says in Think and Grow Rich, the mind is a sending and receiving set. So I'm like, whatever you're saying in your head, no matter what you're saying out of your mouth, people can hear. Is telepathy, what is coming out of your head. So even when people are saying, why are you yelling? And in your mouth, you're not yelling, but in your head, you're like screaming at them. I'm like, they hear that. So let's talk about the mental conversation that's going on, regardless of what you hear out of your mouth, and how, some people are self-sabotaging their opportunities for success based on not trusting other people.
Well, absolutely. I've only got one daughter, and uh, she's 61 and looks like a high school kid. But she's a CPA, and I told her basically. I told her when she was growing up. We played games. She was so smart, so intelligent. I told her, "You get you a good education. If you decide to get married, and you get you a good man, fine. But if it's not a good man, you kick his butt, get out, and be able to make a living on your own." Well, she's been married uh, 34 years now. But I know an instance that happened to her at that when she was working. She's a CPA, and she was working for a manufacturing company, and the owner, it was mining parts, and he asked her to do a cost analysis of what it would cost him to produce this piece of equipment, and mark up for a 30% profit or what it was. And she worked on it. He come by our office one day and said, "Donna, we got the board report tomorrow." Said, "If you got the report ready?" And she told him yes, and called him as Mr. I said, "I think I could go to the board meeting and I could explain it and answer any of the questions that the board members might have." He said, "Oh no," said, "we've never had women attend a board meeting." And she said, "Something wrong with our plumbing?" And and how I know about it, I said, the man also owned, I can say he's dead now, but the man owned a bank. He had approached us about buying his bank because it was not doing too well. We didn't buy it, but he told me that. And so I asked her about it. I said, "Donna, did you tell Mr. about that?" He said, "I sure did." I said, "Your mama know that she'd kill you." She said, "You're not going to tell her, are you?" I said, "No, this will just be between us." But she learned that. She said they may still be a glass ceiling, but it's got a lot of cracks in it. And I mean, I think we can also, and I don't mean to be critical of women because they'll come down on me, but sometimes I've noticed in banking, I don't remember me, I had women, mostly women, and most of them was good performers, but sometimes they can be their own worst enemy. Uh, and uh, uh, with that attitude showing. I mean, they've got an opportunity. I try to be as impartial as I'll get out, and I think my best employees were females, and I tried to promote them and put them ahead. But there's some of them out there. One of the girls, she's still a friend today, friend of my wife, and we talk every once in a while or have lunch every few months or something or other. And I promoted her to a loan officer, which is that's much above a teller, if got education as to loan officer, and that steps kind of you go through the banking. And she come to me one day and she said she'd been asked by several of her friends, was we sleeping together because she got a promotion. See, I mean, that's saying the young lady's not got qualities of her own that she's got to use her body to get ahead. And that's not, it may be done sometime, but that's not necessarily so. So there's nothing wrong But so many, I think, people, even the males too, are satisfied with I don't know, I'd say manual. They don't see themselves in a higher position. You have, my next book, I'm not promoting it, but it's a millionaire vision. We got to see ourselves where we want to be rather than where we are. If people's in poverty, what do they see? Poverty. What do they get? Poverty. They got to see themselves at reaching higher stages, because I was inspired by Job's on the wall going to my daughter's place in one of the churches. You can see from interstate, where there is no vision, the people perish, Job. And so you got to have a vision to where you want to be. Then you go figure out how to get there as you go along.
I have a quote out of one of your mini books. I got them all stacked up on the desk. I'm gonna try to quote something out of all of them. It's your millionaire mindset. It's so good. Okay, so you said, for centuries, debt has dragged down entire generations, causing them to think that indebtedness is normal and natural rather than the debilitating condition that it is. Debt is a legal form of slavery. Debt ensnares your mind so that you cannot pursue your primary desire with direction and purpose, and it limits the cooperation you can obtain from others in service of your chief aim. So what do you think that, what advice do you have for people who are now show me, I don't know if it's a generation, I don't know what's going on, like the people who want to look rich rather than be rich, or the people who want to look rich rather than be wealthy, and how that stops them from pursuing the things that the work that they're called to do?
Well, I study. I very seldom miss 30 minutes studying finance because it just don't fall out of the air. But whether we do it consciously or unconsciously, we're either drawing interest or we're paying interest. Until we have a financial freedom, we're not free. If you come home and your spouse or your friend says, "Oh, Christy, let's go to that new restaurant downtown. Everybody's talking about it," and you say, "Oh, it's expensive as all get out." I said, "I'll have to wait till the first of the month to get my check." That's not freedom. That's not, you're not in jail, but it's close to the same thing. You have to obtain financial freedom, and it's not that difficult, honestly. The good book tells us that God owns the earth and everything that's in it, but when we get our paycheck, my friend Sharon Lecter, who I work with a lot, she wrote the Rich Dad Poor Dad books. You got to pay yourself. You deserve to keep some of your money. And again, when you say, "I'm gonna start saving when I get this paid off," that's another one of them some days, lying to yourself. I don't care if it's $5 a payday or $10 a payday. If you'll put some of your money away, Warren Buffett, who I read all his things, I don't invest all his, I don't have his billions of dollars, but Microsoft and Apple and Coca-Cola and a lot of them that he does, and I invest in also. He said, if you don't make money while you're sleeping at night, you're gonna have to work all your life, because we got to have more than one source of income, and that money it will work for us if we systematically put away. And there's some little lessons. It's simple. For example, I've taught it when there's groups, like a rule of 72, which means if you get 6% return on your money in 12 years, it'll double. You divide 6 into 72, so your money will double. And if you start out at a decent early age, well, Christy, I had people coming in their bank in their 60s wanting to buy their first house. I'm thinking, where you been sleeping? Where are you? I mean, it's not nothing wrong with not on your own home, but you should, before you get 60 or 65, you think you have a desire for a home. It's not very smart to take out a 30-year loan when you're 65 years old. You're a slave. But it's a good goal to have. But money's not that important. The bank I worked in had 2 stories, and upstairs was a kitchen, which I couldn't go eat with the employees because it was show favoritism. I went out, business thing, whatever. But the girls were, they told me, one of them said, they got discussion finance. I don't know what girls talk about when they're just girls or whatever, but I can kind of imagine. But one of them asked a question. I just wondered, other girls said, your spouse or husband or what that you got a checking account with, what's the minimum you not try to keep in your checking account? And here's what the ancient worm said. Oh my God, we don't never talk about money. I mean, here they've been discussing their love life and everything else, but yet with their spouse, they can't talk about money. I mean, and I know cases of it. I used to counsel people. I don't do it no more. I don't have time, but or don't want to take time. But they would argue, and they slip and do stuff without the other knowing it. Merge somebody now. They can't tell what they spend. And here was a conversation I had one time. I can remember the people, and I would come in. I'd come in on a Saturday, and the bank wasn't open. It's a good case, something I thought I could help with. And the husband, he says, "Yeah, how much you spending? $20 or $30 a week on your hair? Is that necessary?" And she says, "How much money you spend on the golf course?" And see, one word leads to another, and you say words you can't take back. You know, I mean, through anger or whatever, rather than sitting down couldn't we start taking our lunch to work with us till we get our credit card paid up? Why don't we just go out and eat on Saturday night and eat all the other meals at home? You know, and why don't we send the extra $20 on the credit card that we're saving, or $50 till we pay that off, and cut the credit card up, because if you can't pay your credit card in full when you get the bill, you need to get a pair of scissors, because it's obviously you can't manage your finances. I mean, I got a couple of cards. One was American Express, but they send you a thing every month that you can pay a minimum is 30 a month or 60 a month or whatever. And most of the people end up doing that. And then they charge you 24% or something of it. Not very smart, because you can't get about 5.5 now for depositing your money. But they don't do it. So many people, they solve their financial stuff. They get a card that maxes out 10,000. What do they do? Go get another card. That's a real solution, ain't it? That's like pouring gasoline on a fire and hoping to put it out. You know, it's just not going to happen. But believe me, the word is discipline. A discipline plays such an important part in our life, and it is like third grade math. The same thing with our weight issue. I mean, I remember a time when I weighed a whole lot of weight, not in the last 40 years, but it's third grade math. If we take in more calories than we burn, we're going to put it weight. The only question is, where's it going to land? Is it the butt, the arms, or what, jaws, or all the above? It's going to happen to one of them. There's two ways we can solve that. We can burn more calories and we can take in less. That money's the same way. If we're not in a good shape financially, we can start spending less and making more, or do them both at the same time. We'll get there quicker. And it's not complicated. It's just the word discipline. I mean, you can't eat mashed potatoes and rolls and drink a diet drink and think you're going to lose weight. I mean, you know, it's not going to happen. You know, and the biggest reason I think is to have discipline in your eating and so forth. Is, I don't know where you live longer or not, but I think the quality of your life is a lot better. You know, I mean, that you can get out and go and whatever, and we never know, but definitely it improves your odds. I think if we take care of ourselves, and the money and our health is both of them are just require some discipline. But the thing of it is, the longer you do it, the easier it is. Mm-hmm. You know, so we make a habit, then that habit makes us. I don't care whether it's a good habit or a bad, neither one. But we do it enough times, it gets easier to repeat the next time.
I agree. All right. So now I'm in Mastermind. So Mastermind is my third favorite book of all time. Number one is Outwitting the Devil. It's Outwitting the Devil. So I don't have the print copy here, but I have it on audio. Think and Grow Rich is number two. I mean, the Bible is always tops, but Mastermind is so good. So I'm trying to figure out which part I'm going to read out of it, but I want to talk about opportunity, right? Where he talks about Mr. Carnegie explained that it had been his experience that the man who recognized an opportunity quickly and embraced it and acted upon it quickly could generally be depended upon to carry it out to his logical conclusion. So, one of the things that Napoleon Hill talks about in Think and Grow Rich, he says opportunity takes the slide backdoor approach, which is why a lot of people don't recognize it. And the person who makes a decision, successful people have been known to make decisions quickly and rarely change their mind. Unsuccessful people take a long time to make decisions and then they change their minds often, right? So this goes into the procrastination and the indecision piece. So what has been your observation around people recognizing opportunities? And it's like, so I talk to a lot of people who be like, well, I've been praying. And I'm like, but it's shown up in your face, but then they procrastinate. So it's the mix between making a decision and making it right, or how do people recognize opportunities? I think I've gone around in that, but the question.
Well, I think it gets easier when you have the facts. And of course, now there's a little bit of play on that. People says, "Oh, Christy, I have a hard time making a decision to get your coaching." No, there's no such thing as you made a decision not to do nothing. That's a decision. It's making the right decision is what counts. Once you have the facts, because like you said, was people that really going places, they make decisions once they got the facts, and they change your mind slowly, if at all. And the other people is we would call them wishy-washy. You don't know one moment to the next, but they keep putting everything off. When the kid gets out of school, or when this happens or this happens, and they keep kicking the can down the road. They gotta commit. They gotta commit once it's something other they see that they want. I mean, I had a girl working with me, and nobody ever worked for me. They worked with me. A whole lot of difference. And I was asked to hire the girl because she had lost her little boy. He was born with one lung, and he got a bad cold, and took him to the hospital. And the pediatrician did something other than a medical treatment, and he went into a coma and he never woke up. She was basically a basket case, and she needed to work because her husband didn't have that kind of income. So the girl said, "Why don't you give her?" She won't care me telling it because I played in one of the books a long time ago. It's been 35 years. She's retired now. I'm still working. But anyway, and I would say, "What's wrong with?" And one of them would say, "Well, this is her boy's birthday, or this is the first day of school, or whatever. This is a day he died on," or so forth. And I could see her sitting out there, and that water running through that mascara down her cheeks. So I just got her back in the office one day, and I said, asked her, I said, I know you have troubles and your mind goes back to past, but we got to live forward. I said, you can't redo the things. I said, what would you like to be doing if you had a choice? Oh, I'd give anything if I could teach little kids. I said, well, you went to college some, didn't you? Yeah. I said, why don't you go back? Okay, before. I said, not. She said, I'd be so old. I said, well, how long will it take you? And she said, 2 or 3 years. I said, well, let me ask you a question. In 2 or 3 years, how old will you be if you don't go back to school? Well, I'd be the same age. And then she started laughing. I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay your tuition, okay? I won't never hear another word out of it. If you go to school, you don't even have to show me. I'm going to pay you tuition. You can work and you can take the course of the night and whatever till you get through school. And I said, if you don't mention it no more. And she did. And she finished it. In fact, there's a little girl got grown time. She finished. They're both of them was teaching school books. But some mother has retired, and she just didn't have what you will call the nerve or she couldn't see herself doing it. And so maybe I helped her a little bit to see that she could really do what she would, because it's not enough just to want something. Because not too many times when it's going to fall out of the sky and hit you and say, here I am. We have to, I use it quite often. I said, if we do our best, God will do the rest. But we got, he let us sit there and mold over. But we owe it to ourselves to do. And Christy, and you know it and I know it, that Ralph Waldo Emerson said, if and we knew what we're truly capable of doing, we would amaze ourselves. We would simply amaze ourselves. And that includes myself in it too. I'm thinking, oh God, you could do so much more. You could be doing this, you could be doing this. And that's what gets me up a little more. Because I know I'm going to affect somebody for today's end.
Let's talk about you talked about paying her tuition. And so I talked about this in a post a couple weeks ago in Instagram, and I tagged you in it when we talked about one of my mentors was like, at a certain point of getting money, he didn't know if he wanted to make more. And I was like, dude, you make more money to give it away. And I told one of my mentees actually from my previous career, he's like, well, God has been good to me and my family. I said, dude, but why don't you make more money to now give it away? So you have your book, The Gift of Giving. So what is the point of getting rich? A lot of people think I don't need that much. When I hear women say, I don't need to make that much, it sends me into a tailspin, right? And it's like, you are only focused on making enough money to cover your household bills and maybe send your kids to college. But if you can believe, because it's the same amount of energy, right? It's the same amount of work. If you can believe to send 10, 15, 20, or 100 kids to college, your kids have to be taken care of. So what are your thoughts on the reason to get wealthy?
Well, a lot of people's got it just backwards from a good book. It's sowing and reaping. It's not reaping and sowing. We have to give first, and with the belief it'll be returned to us. I gave away, I printed up 1,000 of them. I'll probably not sent you one, but I'll make a note. I will. There's a verse, Malachi 3:10, and it's on giving, and he's basically telling us to give, and if we give, it will be returned to us in such amounts that there won't be storage enough to hold it all. So do we believe it or we don't? So I printed up 1,000 of them cards and I stapled them with a dollar bill on the back of them. I give the pastor 300 of them. I said, don't tell them where they come from. Don't need my name on the thing. So I put his name on it, Pastor TJ, on the card, and give away 300 of them. And I'm still giving them away or run across the bar, stick one in a book. So I don't remember sending Christy one, but the next book.
No, I haven't got one of those. I'm gonna need one for real. Or 5.
You got one of them? Do you have one?
No, I haven't gotten it yet. I said I'm gonna need one, and then I said I need 5.
Okay. They'll go in the mail if I get out here in time of day. If you don't, they'll go in the mail Monday. Okay. I keep a contacts in my thing because I can't remember everything. I will put Christy's name in there, and I will put in the content. So what books I sent, so I don't send the same ones over and over again. But the reason that I had that, Jim Stovall, as he knows, blind, he's done 60 some odd books, and I propositioned him on that one doing it because his gift of giving is living a legacy. If I'm going to help Christy go to school, I don't have to wait and die and leave some money for her to do it. Why can't I do it and see the good of it while I'm here? And I think it's just the Bible is full of it of giving, and it's not. I don't mean it's not nothing we're supposed to boast about or anything, but to me it just seems it just absolutely seems natural when we have a change. I could tell you story after story after story that things that's occurred. Some of them was funny. I was at the Virginia State High School playoff for state championship 2 years ago in Richmond. And gosh, we left. I was with my sister and my brother-in-law, and we went to IHOP. And this is when it's hard to, the restaurant was on Sunday morning. It was 10 o'clock. We was hungry, and the lobby was full of people, and you could see the tables weren't being cleaned off or nothing, and they just didn't have enough help. And I finally called old girl. I said, hey, if you can get us a table, we'll sit at a dirty table or whatever. But anyway, I slipped a little girl some money. but then when the lady served us, and she was an African American, which didn't have nothing to do with it, but I could see her. She was cleaning the tables. I could see where we sat. She's running in the kitchen. She was doing the food, and she was bringing the food out. And then my sister actually paid the bill. She said, "You paid the hotel. We'll pay the breakfast." And she said, "Don," she didn't take. She said, "Take yours off." And it said, "Because you help one of the employees." And so when we started to leave, she's going by. I said, "Wait a minute." She stopped, and I gave her $100 bill. She grabbed me and said, "Would you marry me?" I said, "I wouldn't be worth 2 cents." And I don't even know the lady's name. That's Richmond, Virginia, about 7-hour drive. I'll never see her again, no. But I've probably made her day. And when we have a chance to do something and don't do it, we're the ones cheating. We're the ones cheating ourselves. Anyway, they just, the people cringe the money. You know, and I got some friends I would say fit into it. I'm not condemning them, but we can have money, or money can have us. And the money is not the root of all evil, as people say. It's the love of money. When you have money and don't see the use of where you can do good for other people, then you're loving the money. I mean, if you got 4 million, you got to have one more. I mean, how much do you have to take you girl to the grave? And when you have a chance to help a kid go to school, or buy them some clothes, or do some act of kindness, and don't do it, we're just cheating yourself. And Christy, I always look at it. I'm doing something, trying to do something good for someone that is in no way able to pay me back. I don't expect nothing in return, except I got the feeling that I tried to help somebody else. That's all. That's all. I'm not trying to try something and expect them to give me something back. That's not the point of giving.
Oh, I agree. I always say the world is greater because I'm rich. Like, I'm a heavy tipper at the hotel. They know me. Like, you want the best service? Like, people at the hotel, like, how are these people in this hotel know you? But like, one, this is my favorite hotel, but I am an excessive tipper. Excessive. So they will give me anything that I want when I come.
Well,
a month or two later.
Mm-hmm. There's a restaurant in Pikeville, Kentucky. I probably maybe once a month. I'm close by, and they don't take reservations. Okay. I mean, sure, they don't take reservations, but I can call them and tell them who I am. And when I go in, I got a seat because they remember you. They remember you. In fact, first kind of little girl waited on me was Cheryl. I found out she had like 3 little kids in grade school, whatever. And so I got her dress and put it down. When I got back in the office on Monday, I sent her some books for her kids. She remembers me. And so do the other employees now.
I love it. I got 2 more questions. So, okay. So now we're in Pathways to Peace of Mind. So you sent me this book. Y'all see I have the autographed copies. Thank you, Mr. Green. It's awesome. But I bought like 60 of these and gave them away at my event that we had last year. My clients love it. Actually, I'm going to read something from Positive Influence too. But when I think about the number of podcasts, and everybody is just talking now, even online, like everybody's talking, and some people are sharing great insight, and some people are just messy, and they're sharing their trauma or their opinions that aren't necessarily serving the greater good. And so in Pathways to Peace of Mind, y'all, all the books are available on Napoleon Hill Foundation.org, or it's naphill.org, or Amazon. But you said secondhand clothes can be worn, secondhand automobiles can be driven, but secondhand thoughts are either worthless or dangerous. Woo! That was good. So what are your thoughts on guarding your thoughts? Because a lot of times, if you're listening to negative information today, or you're listening to things that I would say contribute to your defeatist attitude of what can't happen, and then this becomes a part of your thinking, what is your thoughts around, guarding your mind against thoughts that aren't serving you?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the subconscious mind accepts what's fed into it, and it is fed by the conscious mind. So we got to guard what we feed into it, and the more we feed into it, but subconscious, it can't determine what's good or bad. It'll accept what's fed into it. So it's real important. I mean, like Hill said, why would you say to yourself, "I never have no money at the end of the month"? I mean, you're dooming yourself before you even start. You got to feed the positive things. There's a book by, and I don't have copies of it. I read several times when I was teaching in college. This course, Shad Helmstettler. He wrote a book, "What Do You Say When You Talk to Yourself?" Of course, it's all on auto-suggestion. Most important conversation you'll ever have in your life is auto-suggestion. It's what you let your conscious mind feed into your subconscious mind, and until it becomes a. We'll believe anything when you repeat yourself. I mean, I was talking in a federal prison one time. I used to do it a lot, quite often, state prisons too. And we had a group where I was, gosh, I don't know, it's 50 or 60 of them, I guess. And the word was there. I felt safe and everything. But the one of them was saying, talk about people on the outside. No, wait. I said, wait a minute. I said, do you know what the word con means? I said, there's a lot of people outside probably needs to be in here, but they have freedom. And I said, you got to accept the fact is if what you've done, something you've done, and if you got the same attitude when your time is up, it's not going to be good for you. I said, you got to convince yourself that you got a starting point over the chance to make it over again. And I said, you don't want to put your hand on a hot stove but one time. I said, you got to learn something from it and go on. But if you think you're smarter than all the people that's on the outside, you're off to a bad start because evidently that's not the case. And maybe a lot of them out there it's worse than you are, but the people on the outside have freedom, and that's something that you don't have, which to me is the most precious thing in the world is freedom.
I love it. My last question. So now we're in positive influence. I gave this, I think 40 or 50 of these away to my clients at my event in 2022. You said, when you go to condition your mind for anything, make a list of all the benefits you're going to get out of it. Then sell yourself on those benefits and keep your mind off the opposite. So, conditioning your mind is a real thing. The scripture says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so a lot of us are conditioned from our childhood, and we're conditioned from, like what our parents said about money or whether or not we could do anything, or seeds that were planted in us long ago. So it's like the reconditioning of your thoughts. Make the list of the benefits and sell yourself those benefits, and not necessarily look for support from other people who don't have that vision. And then keep your mind off the opposite. Can you expand on, a little bit about how to maintain a positive attitude, but then also getting out of the way and having courage to do what you're supposed to do?
We have to make a choice, and I can't remember the guy's name, but in Atlanta, there was a hate monger or what you call. He went into church, and I think he killed like 7 people or something other. It happened a long time ago. And one of the guys is a motivational speaker. It was his mom was killed. And now him thinking about that, he could have been a gangster, but whatever, he turned to being a speaker and whatever, and but he made that choice. And what he talks about is we form our opinions, but back to childhood or stories we heard. And I guess he's a friend. He's been here to speak for, and I just love the guy, Rick Bragg. And we can form our opinion. People can form an opinion of black people because one robbed them, or they can form an opinion of white people because they got cheated. But you can't let one incident like that. Like in his book, Rick Bragg, he won a Pulitzer Prize. I don't know where he read or not. He come here to college and spoke, and they always kidding me, saying we had more books than he did. But he wrote one book. It's all over but the shouting, and you've heard that term before. But he won the Pulitzer Prize. He covered the Oklahoma City bombing, and he covered the Haiti riots. But he won the Pulitzer Prize. I think he writes the Atlanta Constitution. But he's wrote a lot of books, entertaining stuff. But in that one, it tells how you form opinions of people. And he said a lot of from white folks, there's a lot of negatives about blacks. He said what he remembered from blacks was his dad was a drunk. He worked in a car shop or something, but he was a veteran of one of the wars, and his mother always made the excuses, well, it's because he's a war and whatever, and he wasn't going to do it no more and so forth. And of course, towards the end, he's dying. That's where his dad said it's all over shouting. His mother never divorced him or anything, but he asked his mother, said, when I write the book, said, I'm going to write a book. He said, but you tell me I won't. No, I think the story ought to be told. he said, why did you stay with Dad when he was abusing you and coming in drunk and turning the house upside down? She said, I always told myself he wasn't going to do it no more, and she had no way of making a living, but she'd fed her stuff as it was going to occur more. But the story that I wanted to tell you was, he said he didn't know how. They lived in rural Alabama. He said their neighbors were black, and he said he didn't know how they know it, but said they seemed to know for some reason or another when his dad was off on a drunk and hadn't come home. And they brought food to him. The black family brought food to him. And now that's his impression of black people. Was growing up as a kid. When you don't have nothing to eat, the black people's going to come in, and bring it. So it's important that we realize we can let incidents affect us good or bad. It's just a wonderful story. And of course, also he's funny, but it was a great story on that. And the guy that his mom got killed, he gives several instances how we form opinions by different things that's happened. We can go, I got all the reason in the world. But that's in that one book, what we're saying, we talk to ourselves, that he told a story of two guys are brothers, and after the war, one of them was bumming, and he bummed this guy was in a suit and a briefcase, and he said, I'll give you some money in change. He said, how'd you end up like this? He said, well, if you gotta know, my dad was drunk. He'd come in, beat everybody up, and said, and then he died, and then said the war broke out, and said the authorities come and got my brother and my sister, and I've never seen them again. And said that's the reason I'm like I am. And that guy says, I remember that. I remember Dad, what he used to beat everybody up, and I remember him being drunk. And, these guys were brothers. One of them said to himself, I'm no better than my old man. He's a drunk. I haven't got no reason to be no better than he would. The other says, my dad might have been drunk, but it ain't going to happen to me. Each one of them made a choice, and they outlined the path they followed, and made those decisions. And one can make a right decision, and one make the other one. But excuses won't take you nowhere. When you start making excuses, you're writing your ticket to the road to failure. Because everybody's got things that they didn't. Like my dad, they didn't send me to the right school. Yeah, they went to the 7th grade. I asked my mother one time, why'd y'all just go to the 7th grade? Well, you little smart aleck. The teacher just went to the 7th grade and said there wasn't a school 20 miles of us, and there wasn't no school buses. And so what they do, the 7th grade, get married when you're 14, and the boys go to work in the coal mines. But I saw enough that I'd had an opportunity that could make a difference rather than just follow the suits and going into the coal mines. Not that it's beneath me, but we get to choose those things. I determined that you can make a living with your mind a lot easier than you make a living with your hands, because that's bad work. That's bad work, working in the coal mines. I worked a little bit in the summer at 75 cents an hour doing labor, which would put the guy in jail today for doing that. But anyway, I got the message. Hey, my dad might have done this. I didn't have much of a choice, but I got a choice. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to get me an education. And I adapted that habit of reading, and fed it into my mind, and dream big. Still dream big. But the good Lord won't give us no dreams that we can't handle. We do our part.
Well, Mr. Green, before I ask you my last question and we get out of here, I just want to say publicly how much I appreciate you, the support that you've given me over the past couple of years after we met. I put in a post that when we first met, I went to this event, and then I met you at the door, and then escorted you to your seat, and then sat right beside you and asked you a million questions.
That was fun.
But I appreciate you and your mentorship and your friendship over the past couple of years, because you met me after I burned out, right? Like I was this high profile military officer, and I forgot who I was. And so my goal was to start to remind myself of who I was, but then also start to create my life built on principles that can't be washed away, long-standing principles from Think and Grow Rich and Outwitting the Devil. And y'all know I'm obsessed with Napoleon Hill. Some people think that Napoleon Hill is still alive because I talk about him all the time. And I'm like, no. He's passed away long ago. But it's like, when you start to create your life built on rock and principles that have been around, and a lot of it links back to the Bible, right? Like, and applying those things we've learned. So I just want to say I appreciate you and sending me the gazillion books, because I read all of them. I got all of them. They're right here. Some of them right home.
You've grown immensely. I can remember.
Was that my Wi-Fi? Are y'all still there, or is that his Wi-Fi? All right, we'll see if he comes back. If he doesn't come back, we'll jump, because I'm over my time. I was trying to squeeze all the juice out of him. So Shamika asked the thing, 3 things I can do every day to stop procrastinating. 1, get a greater vision for where you're going, because if you don't know where you're going, you're going to continue to go in circles. 2, do the things that scare you anyway. Even if you're afraid, do it anyway. Feel the fear, do it anyway. Feel the fear, do it anyway. So that's it. Create a plan for where you want to be, which is greater than where you are right now. Depression is rehearsing a past that you cannot change, and anxiety is fearing a future that hasn't happened yet. And so anxiety is being afraid to take action and move forward because you can't figure out how it's going to work. So stop rehearsing the past, get a clear vision of your future, and then do it afraid. How do you apply for a high-paying role when you're still rebuilding confidence after massive failure? Failure is a part of the process, right? And so a lot of y'all have created these toxic jobs because you were out of position. And so the confidence, you're basing how you see yourself, which we just talked about earlier, on some of the experiences of what happened in the past, and, not trusting employers or bosses based on what happened from the past, but you're not giving a great opportunity for what's in front of you. You're not giving the next person an opportunity to be able to prove themselves. So it's about not, getting out of the way and doing it anyway. Y'all just got to make a move, right? Like, y'all just got to do something. So, and stop blaming your past for why you can't move forward in your future. Everybody's had a crappy past. Everybody's gone through something. Everybody's going through something, or they've been through something. And so y'all just got to take action and just do it anyway. If you ain't going to die, that's my measurement of whether or not I'll do something. Will I die? If I'm not going to die, hey, I'm on my way. We're just going to see what happens. If I fail, I learn the way it won't work. If I fail, even if I blow money out of the window, I learn the way it won't work, but I learned something, right? So pick up the pieces of what you've learned of now. Okay, so if I failed epically, loudly, publicly, I learned that doesn't work. What can you take from this to not do it again? And then do it again until you're successful. Most successful people have failed epically, publicly, and loudly or silently, and you never know because you only see our successes. I fail all the time. Y'all just don't know because ain't nobody paying attention. So it's really just a part of it being in your head and thinking that other people care. Nobody really cares. So don't self-sabotage where you are and what you're meant to create in life and what you're meant to do in life by your fear of failure, because failure is just a part of the process. Failure is just movement in the right direction. Failure is just learning the way that it didn't work. Failure is just learning who's not your friend. Failure is learning who are your friends. Failure is not really real. And so I'll say this and then I'll close out. Napoleon Hill has a quote in Think and Grow Rich. And I urge y'all to get these books. I'm obsessed. When I say obsessed with Napoleon Hill. Think and Grow Rich, right? And this is the version from the Napoleon Hill Foundation. So get this one because they've published it. People are like taking the book rights and just publishing bootleg books. But this is the official copy from the Napoleon Hill Foundation. But he says, a man is never whipped until he quits in his own mind. A woman is never whipped until she quits in her own mind. That's the only time you fail, is when you quit and start blaming other people. That's when you're a failure. So, all right, I'm gonna run through these books and then we're gonna get out of here. So I have them on video. I just need to take it and do it. So you have Positive Influence. Is so good. Pathways to Peace of Mind. They're all on Amazon too, right? Think and Grow Rich is my favorite. Think and Grow Rich is my second favorite, actually. Outwitting the Devil on audio is the greatest book of all time. Think and Grow Rich is number 2. Although Think and Grow Rich is a foundation, Outwitting the Devil, I recommended that book to like 8,000 people. Mastermind is my number 3. And the reason why I like Mastermind, since y'all still listening, I'm going to tell y'all something about it. So if you don't know who Napoleon Hill is, I'll say this. Back in the early 1900s, Andrew Carnegie, who was a steel king, the richest man in the world at the time, ended up wanting someone to study successful people, because he says that there is a difference between what poor people do, poor middle class people do, and rich people do. It's something that rich people do that poor middle class people don't do. So he told Napoleon Hill, after he hired him, and so I'm not going to pay you the money though, I'm going to introduce you to 500 of the wealthiest people, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Rockefeller, JP Morgan, Chase, Wrigley with Wrigley Gum, Eastman with Eastman Kodak, right? Like all the people that we still talk about today, brands that are standing today, that we say Ford, well, that was a person. JP Morgan was a person. Chase was a person. Wrigley Gum was a person. So he introduced him to 500 of the wealthiest people, said, study them, go to their house, hang out with them, try to figure out what are the things that they do, and then create a success philosophy around it. And so that's, like the basis of a lot of the books are based off that successful philosophy. So once I started to read Think and Grow Rich, I'm like, oh my God, successful people do actually some of the same things. I just didn't know, because that made me weird. I mean, I've always been kind of weird, but like once I started to read, so the successful icons and titans that are doing the exact same things that I'm doing, being criticized by mediocre people for, I'm on the right path. So Think and Grow Rich, I would say, is the foundation to a lot of the things that I do today. But Mastermind, my God, let me tell y'all something. In Your Right to Be Rich, which is an audio, it's about 10 hours. It's a live audio on, it's on Audible, but they have a book, but I like the audio because it's Napoleon Hill talking when he was older. I think he was in his 60s when he ended up doing this audio. It's like 10 hours. He was in Chicago speaking. And he said, I've always wanted to share my failures, but the publishers didn't really want to, let him talk about the failures that he had over his lifetime of the, 40 years trying to prove this success philosophy. Mastermind is him talking about the failures, and Mr. Green put a lot of these books together. So I want y'all to live a life, and I'm trying to live a life where, Napoleon Hill died in the 70s. They still publishing books, 5-6 books a year, based off some of the things and the works that this man did. He died in the 70s. They published books last year, the year before that, and the year before that. And so Mr. Green is a part of the, bringing some of his success philosophies to life long after he passed away, y'all. So will people be talking about you 100 years after you passed away? You have it in you. Will people be reading things that you wrote? Y'all got to write the first book. I mean, for God's sakes, right? And get out of the way and stop wondering whether or not it's going to be a failure. But Mastermind chronicles, I was like, this man kept getting up. I mean, it's like the way he failed, y'all, it would be insane. He would fail here. He would stop for a couple of months and he'll get back on it. And then that would fail. And then he'll start again. And then that would fail. And then he would start again. Y'all, this book blew my mind. And I think I got it last year. He failed so much, which is why people can, especially me, can be obsessed nearly 100 years later. I mean, the way that it was just, y'all got to get this book. If you scared to fail, just get, you be like, my God, this man, he never stopped. He just kept getting up and kept getting up. He kept getting up. He kept getting up. So this is why this is one of my favorites. So, and again, The Gift of Giving from Mr. Green. So, all right. And we're done. So, and then Your Millionaire Mindset, I think I read it in 2 days. It's really good. So that's a couple of the gazillion books. And then I just got this one. I haven't read it yet. Think and Grow Rich in 10 minutes a day. So I didn't show y'all all my books. I got a lot of them there on my bookshelf. I just wanted to quote something out of this one. So, all right, y'all. Y'all have a great time, and I am excited that y'all join me on this podcast. Bye, y'all. Holla.